Hello and welcome to the show. Now, we don't have a humongous selection of super estates on Forza Horizon 3. However, I did want to try another one down the rally stage, so why not go for probably my favourite of them all, the Audi RS2 Avant. Now, the Volvo 850R did go down a little while ago. I am thinking that the Audi might be able to go a little bit quicker, and this could put in a pretty decent time down the course. At least I'm hoping that it can. It does, of course, start off with all-wheel drive. We are going to... Well, that's a lot of PI. That's a massive amount of PI with the off-road compound tyres, but we are... going to be needing them. We're going to go for maximum tyre widths for all of the grip in this, I can say, relatively big car. Kind of not really compared to modern estate cars, but yeah, I guess a little bit bigger than some. Certainly a bit bigger than the Alpine that went down last time. Engine, we're probably going to be keeping the standard engine. I have no doubt it'll be enough to get it up to the top of A-class. We will go for the, of course, the off-road suspension. Now, let's have a look through here. We'll get the roll cage on the car, get some chassis rigidity on the car. That's always helpful. Now, what do we do with weight reduction on this car? I am pondering... It's going to be a kind of relatively heavy vehicle regardless. We're not going to quite get it down to the crazy levels of, the Impreza and so on. Or, again, the Alpine. I'm kind of pondering keeping it there and then just going for as much power as we possibly can, in the hope that... What engines can we get in? We can get a 6.2 litre V8, and that's it. I was expecting the V10 to go in this. I'm kind of surprised that that it doesn't. Well, let's go and chuck on all of these parts and see if we're going to get enough PI out of it. I think we probably will. It's... actually, it's not going to be the most powerful of cars. Judging... Oh, wow, this engine is awful. I'm sorry, Audi. I mean, I say it's awful. From the actual standard car, the engine is great. But this is really not adding on power in any way, shape or form with this car. It's just not going to get me anywhere near enough. So we're going to have to go for the 6.2 litre V8. Now, do we go for aspiration swaps? Last time I ran a supercharger, we did really well. The last car that ran a supercharger was the Ford Falcon, and that still sits in second place. I think we'll go for a supercharger on this one. We will jump back over here and put the exhaust on. So, we are going to be getting a nice sizable amount of power out of the... Yeah, we're going to get lots of power out of the Audi. Always good news. Always good news when you have a lot of power available. I'm just hoping that we have the control to go with it. Now, we are probably... Let's just see. If that reckons it's a 3 second to 60. It's going to 194. Now, top speed, not so significant. It's whether it's got... Do I feel the necessity? I mean, this is a pretty big PI gain. That's a 10 PI gain with that gearbox for, what, 0.03? 2 of a second, sorry? It's kind of not really... It's not really worth it. And the standard gearbox, it's saying it's going to max out 190, so the gear ratios aren't going to be so awful that it'll be undrivable. I don't see the point in changing with that. We might as well go and chuck on some more power. This is going to make more of a difference with the 0 to 60 time than the gearbox is going to. I mean, it's not like, if you're putting suddenly 800 horsepower through this car, through the original gearbox and everything, that would probably cause some problems. However, it's not like that because, well, this is Horizon 3 and we can get away with doing that sort of thing. I mean, this engine is... We know this engine is good for 1,000 plus horsepower. I was expecting it to have started, petering off a lot sooner, because we're going to be getting nearly 900 horsepower in this, and that's a scary prospect. I'm hoping this will be a little bit more controlled than, some of the 1,000 horsepower monsters that have gone down here. This is getting quite ridiculous. In fact, we're going to have to, I think, go for that and then just take off. We'll keep valves. What if we take ignition off? Okay, that does nothing. There's no PI from taking that part off. That's one. And then maybe taking that off. No, that's not going to do it. We might have to go valves or pistons or something. Nope, that's... Apparently finding that one power. There we go. 17 horsepower down. Changing the pistons. We will have a quick sneaky look. Nope, but I think we're playing it quite close in terms of the PI here. We can get one. We can get a driveline on, so we might as well go for that. That's a big load of horsepower in the Audi. I wasn't quite prepared for that much. 913 horsepower in the RS2, almost 800 torque. Yes, it is a bit on the heavier side, 3,300 pounds, although that is lighter than the likes of the Ram Runner, the Lamborghini, the Tesla, and so on. And not far off them in terms of power. Maybe, or we will see a mighty fast estate car. Let's hope we have plenty of handling. So it is off to the reservoir trail with the Audi. I'm going to get 3 runs through the course to try and set as fast a time as possible. Our current leader, the Ram Runner, has a 2:29.8 through this stage, and that is, well, proving to be a very, very quick time. Maybe the Audi can challenge it. We shall have to wait and see. Acceleration-wise, up towards the puddle. It's not quite as fast as the Alpine, but it's certainly not bad, and it is very, very good through turn 1. Lots of speed through turn 1, although I ran a little bit wide across the bridge. Clonked into the wall. I mean, we bounced off the wall, but we then carried a lot of speed through turn 2 and all the way up towards the first of the dirt corners. I have, though, got to try and get the car stopped for there. Not quite got the brakes of the Impreza, that much is for sure. Slow it down. You can probably get away with dipping a wheel in the puddle ever so slightly. It's got relatively short gear ratios, this car. They are, they're workable with, certainly. If we stay out quite wide through there, it is relatively happy. On the bumps, always helpful. We're going to end up in another wall, though. Never so good. Oh, we're going to plough our way down this section and sort of try and cut the corner there, but then you've got to be really careful that you get it straight for this huge jump. We don't lose too much time on the landing either. That was one of the areas the Lamborghini, the LM002, lost a lot of time kind of crashing down on the landing there. This car seems to be doing pretty bloody well. 110 miles an hour through the water is equally helpful. It's not the very fastest that we've seen. It's not up there with the Ram Runner in terms of carving a path through the water, but it is pretty good. It's doing well across these bumps, for a car that, wasn't designed for off-roading. Of course, the Lamborghini and the Ram Runner are going to be good at dealing with the bumps, and to an extent even the 22B, but the Audi was designed to be a very, very fast car on the road. But it's not bad. It's really not bad out here, although it did struggle to get the car turned in through the water. That is one thing that we will struggle with more in this car, whereas the Ram Runner, you could just blast your way through that water. The Audi, not quite so much, as we shall now fire our way down the back straight. Yeah, pretty controlled through there, across the first of the big jumps. Line us up for the second one. Neatly done. Get the car slowed. In fact, we can go a bit later on the brakes into the penultimate turn. And one more corner to go. Don't slide out too wide, although this is looking very, very good as an opening run. It is very fast as an opening run. A 2:30.8. Oh, I think there is a Ram Runner running quite scared somewhere around in my garage. Hopefully it's not running too scared in my garage. There's a lot of cars in there for it to crash into. However, that is a quick first run from the RS2. So, we are on the hunt for about a second over the course of this rally stage. If I can make up a second with the RS2, we can possibly beat the Ram Runner. Yeah, I wasn't quite expecting... I wasn't expecting to get this much power from the car. That was so fast through turn 1. But it really can handle it well, although not there. That's weird. I guess I am chucking it in with a fair amount of speed. I'm going to be honest, we are throwing it in that corner there with a lot of speed because we're carrying so much speed through turn 1. However, I don't know, I've talked about this a little bit. The camber on the road acting a bit funny. Like, the car, initially it turned into that corner really well, and then it's almost get bumped across a grippy part of tarmac and then ended up on the outside, and then there's no grip whatsoever. I mean, I guess maybe I was on the throttle a little bit too soon. I should have just kind of coasted my way through the first part, and that might have worked a little bit better. So that's going to be a problem area to really watch out for on the next run. It does very nicely. This is where I was talking about with the Impreza, having that bit of oversteer and scrubbing off speed through some of the faster corners, and that's just not like a tiny bit there, but on the most part that's just not happening with the Audi, and that is a very, very important trait for a car to have. We can't be, you can get away with a rally car and so on, hairpins, yeah, they will slide the cars around to try and make speed, but around here, because of the nature of the circuit, I was putting the car into 6th by accident, because of the very, very high-speed nature of the circuit, if I'm losing the back end, I'm going to be scrubbing off important speed and, yeah, losing lap time or stage time. So the fact that this car is very, very nicely planted is good indeed. I'm trying to get it turned in well enough through that water. It's a little bit of a pain, really, getting it into that particular corner. It'll carry the speed on the way in, fine, but I can't punch through the water in the same way the Ram Runner could, so I've got to take a slightly more compromised line. This is all a little bit out of shape, although has now been recovered as we soar our way across the first part. Yeah, you see, we're much quicker through there than quite a lot of cars. We're about 10 miles an hour faster than most vehicles through that part. Oh, I caught a bump just as I got on the brakes, so we ended up braking too late and have overshot the corner. It's about an identical run that time out. Well, there is, I still think, some time to be found. This is going to be a close one. Well, this is it. The do-or-die run for the RS2. It is currently secured 2nd place on our table, which is certainly very good going. However, we still need to find about a second in time down here to challenge the Ram Runner at the top. It's so mega fast through turn 1, although that does put you in a little bit of trouble for the second corner, because you're carrying way, way more speed down there than just about anything else. So you've got to be aware of that, and likewise up here, carries a lot of speed up the hill, and the brakes are good, but they're not as good as the 22B. Let's face it, this is a much bigger and heavier car than the Impreza. That's kind of, well, a little bit unsurprising, really. Again, get on the brakes through here. Keep everything nice and smooth. Keep the back end in check. We don't want to be wasting any of our time with unnecessary oversteer. Tend to run a little bit of a wider line on the way into that section. You avoid the worst of the bumps, although it can put you out a smidge wide for the second part. We are neatly done through there. Keep out of the water. Try and maintain as much speed on the way up the hill as we can. Down towards our next test. I mean, this is where we saw a little bit of oversteer going on from the Impreza. The Audi have been slower on the way in. We slide just a tad on the way up, but we get a very, very good run on the second part. There's kind of two ways into that S-bend. You can carry a lot of speed on the way in, but tend to be a bit slower on the way out, or you can be, like I was there, slower and tighter on the way in, but you get a mega run on the exit all the way up the hill, which I think is perhaps the slightly better way to go. And this car has got the grip and got the speed to be able to get away with it. It is just absolutely on the limit through some of these corners. The back end is millimeters away from, you know, running out of grip, from sliding almost uncontrollably, but the car has enough grip to get away with it. Running that higher line, trying to keep the RS2 out of the water for as much of the time as possible. Now we have the mad dash sprint towards the big jumps, and we're out a bit wide through the first part, which is not really where we want to be. I've had to have a small lift just to settle everything down as we head up towards the main jump. We're still carrying a lot of speed through the first one, across the second one we go. Now we can carry good speed around the penultimate corner. One final turn to go with the RS2. Get the car stopped, jump on the power. We're sliding out towards the wall. Oh, it's going to be really close. That was incredibly close. Oh, it's not quite enough. It is not quite enough. God, I found almost the second that was needed from the RS2. That's a mighty, mighty car down there. I think where it might lose out potentially to the Ram Runner is the stability across the jumps. I think I was absolutely on it until we came down that back straight, and the Audi just gets thrown about that bit more. And that's fair enough. You would expect that. Let's face it. You would expect that from the RS2 in comparison to an off-road racing truck, that the RS2 would have a little bit more of a problem. And I think that might be just where I lost it. But it's we're talking fractions here. We are talking absolute fractions here, as the RS2 will go into second place. It is only the second vehicle to get under the 230s down this stage. It's a second clear of the Ford, sort of a second and a half clear of the Lamborghini. So a really, really good showing from the RS2. Way quicker than a large number of, I mean, almost 10 seconds clear of the 850R, or that does suffer from a little bit of the front-wheel drive converted to all-wheel drive, massive oversteer issues, but there we go. Yeah, RS2 is a hell of a nice car. Hell of a nice car to drive down here. Plenty of accessible performance in this one. You've got to be aware just how absurdly fast it is going when it comes to braking zones, because yeah, you can get a little carried away. It'd be very easy to get carried away with a car like this. However, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.